Hello legends and super legends. Welcome to Veloharmony. Today I want to go through the channel's super legend requests, and we're dealing with a request today that is at the top of the queue from Jose Santiago. I made a video a little while ago that talked about fit is what you feel, and on that video Jose put a comment on there. I'm going to have to read it because it's very specific. He said, "Great video. I was wondering if you could address bike fit for us folks at 50 or higher. It seems that many of us at our age are dealing with herniated discs or bad backs. I tried to bring the stem down quite a bit, but I had to bring it back up because of it. I just added 2 spacers and the pain went away. I can ride for hours now after following your instructions. Saddle height and saddle foreaft is key. I haven't needed to change anything else from that." Now, what he's referencing is Jose is one of the super legends that wisely signed up on the website veloharmony.com for remote bike fit. And he's uniquely the perfect cyclist for us to support remotely because, well, he happens to be an engineer and he's a guy that can loosen the seat post, drop it pretty easily, put the saddle on there, set the level. He's got a level, all of that. He had a trainer that the bike was on, and that was level and everything. And when Jose sent me his video, he basically put it on Google Drive because when you do these videos, that's why I say 1 minute. Even if it's a minute, the file is so huge, a lot of the email systems restrict what comes through. I even got the idea from him when he put it on his Google Drive, and I went and looked at it. I decided to set up a Google Drive for the channel. And now I have a Google Drive that I send the link to people that want to send me videos so they can download. I give them access temporarily so they can put the video on the channel's Google Drive for fit assessment. Michael Kim's one of the guys that has taken advantage of that. So to Michael, that idea came from me working with Jose. But what I was trying to get to is that Jose basically sent me his stats, and I worked with him on dialing in his saddle height. He went, one time he thought it was too low. He played with it a little bit, which is normal, but he got the saddle nailed in. We moved it back. We dropped it. Whenever you lower the saddle, you got to go back a little bit because when you lower the saddle, it brings effectively where you're sitting a little forward. So he wasn't too far off, but we went through the formula. We used that as a basis, and then he slightly may have tweaked away from the formula. I don't know if he stayed with the exact number, but it doesn't matter because it's just a starting point. But so what he's mentioning in his comment is that saddle foreaft, the tilt and everything, he likes it. And what was happening was he was uncomfortable. What I had told him was lower the bars because once you drop the saddle and everything and you're happy, then we can set the bars. And what he had done is we had taken out he had a lot of spacers underneath. So the first thing we did was we flipped the stem because it was kind of pointed up. And then he removed the spacers. So that ended up being too much for him. But you got to try those things. And so what he's mentioning in there for us 50 and older, I'm going to qualify. It doesn't really matter what age you are. Herniated discs affect people of all ages. So some people get it through an injury or a genetic predisposition or just a deterioration, as he said, as you age. I'm not having any of those issues. I've always been very flexible. I'm one of these guys who can just stand and put his palm on the ground. I've always been that way. Doesn't matter. You don't have to be a gymnast to ride the bike. You need to set the bars. Like there's a video I made. I will put the link up here when I load this video on YouTube. There's a video I made about setting your handlebars. As long as you set the bars where your body is not reaching for it, you're done. And that's where he is now. He ended up putting spacers back and now he's comfortable. The pain has gone away. Your body has told you. It does not matter whether you have herniated discs or whatever else going on with you. Doesn't matter whether you're 50, 40, 20, 90, 70. Find the spot like he did for your body. Now, I'm going to qualify. How do you find the spot? Even though you're going to look at that video to review, the key is that from a process standpoint, every time the human body does something like that, it takes energy. Just to do this, it takes energy. To gesture when I'm talking, it takes energy. Well, think about it. On the bicycle, what do you want to use energy for? You want to use energy to move forward. So, you need the energy you're using while you're riding your bicycle, especially when you're sitting, to come from your legs. All your energy need to go to the legs so you can generate forward motion. What that means is your shoulders need to be like this. Your arms need to be like this. How do you do that? You do that by making sure you have the right stem length while you're seated on your saddle. You have the right stem height, which is what Jose is talking about. Those two I talk about in how to set your handlebars video, and you need to review that if you're not sure. The reason is, when my shoulder is like this, or when you're sitting watching a movie or whatever, you're relaxing on the couch, everything's like this. It takes no energy to do this. Gravity does that. You're not using any energy to relax. So you want to be relaxed on the bike. Look at riders who are well fitted. The shoulders are not like that, like this, all of that. Some people have a tendency when they go hard to do this, squish it. That takes energy to do. And you're taking away from what you could put into your legs. So always try to relax. So when you're on the bike, I'm going to go sideways. While you're seated, your shoulders should be like this, not like that. You don't want to reach for the bars. The bars should be right here. You see my hand? There's natural range. It should be right where your hand just gets it. That's what I talked about in that video. So if you place the bars there, your shoulders won't do that. Your shoulders need to be here. That doesn't take energy. That's the natural spot for your shoulder. That's where you want it to stay. And so the bars must be where the length of your hand wants it to be. I hope that's clear. Because any energy you save from here, you will put it in your legs and you will go faster. You will be more efficient. You will use all your energy to make the bike go forward while you're seated. So while you're seated, you need to be relaxed. That's the key. So regardless of how it may look when you look at another rider, set up your bike for you, because your body determines once the saddle is set. You got to do that first. If you don't have your saddle happy and you do all that stuff, it will get messed up when you come back and tweak the saddle. So this is the prerequisite before you start dealing with your handlebars. But keep it within your natural wingspan. That's the best way to put it. Okay? Those bars should just be right there. You shouldn't reach for it, because then it takes energy, and then you will get home and all of that will be aching because that muscle has been extended the whole ride instead of it being relaxed. That's the key, okay? So you set the bars. Don't worry about your age or what's going on with your back or whatever. Regardless of whether you got something going on with your back or not, you must set the bars where your body says, this works for me. Don't worry about how it looks, because the looks are going to vary. And the reason I want to qualify that, because it's important, because when I worked with Jose, it ended up looking like his stem was right at the saddle height, where a lot of things can do that. The design of the particular frame you're riding may be a little more relaxed. It may not have like a short enough top tube. Maybe the top tube's high or whatever, but it doesn't matter regardless of that. So don't worry about the look, because your body says where it wants it to be. When we did Jose's fit, his profile on the bike had been higher, and by dropping his saddle and moving him back, he got more aero. So aerodynamics don't only come from the front. This plays a part depending on where you're sitting to where you can go back and generate. Don't worry too much about whether your back is perfectly flat. Aerodynamics does not necessarily mean you have to be low. Airplanes are at 15,000 feet, they can be aerodynamic there. Or 35,000 feet, they can be aerodynamic there. What matters is how your body slices through the wind. Every human being is unique. You guys remember Lance, when Lance would be on his bike. If you look at some of the old clips, I will try to find one and put it up here. He had a hump in the upper part of his back. He was not perfectly flat. That's his body type. That's the way his body is. It didn't mean he was any less aerodynamic. So you find what works for you. You guys remember when I was doing the last group ride where we did the Heroes ride. If you remember, because I went back and analyzed it, I was going down the hill faster than everybody, even people who were in the group drafting. I just rolled down the hill. I've always gone down faster, just in the drop. I was not exactly any much lower in my most aero when I'm in the drop. So the key is that your body shape will slice through the air differently. What you want to focus on is, don't worry about being too aero. Focus on comfort. If you're comfortable, you will go fast. So Jose, you're right on track. Putting those spacers underneath is what your body says it needs today. It doesn't matter whether you're over 50 or you got something going on with your back because of an injury or whatever. Even if you didn't have an injury, your body has told you this is where it wants to be. And that's all that matters. So it doesn't matter where you go, who you ride with, if somebody says, oh, your stem looks too high or whatever. All you want to tell them is, that works for me. That's my bike. It fits me. And no experienced rider would tell you something's wrong with your fit just by looking at your bike sitting. They may say that when they see you on the bike. If you're on the bike and you're just, then you say, might want to get your fit looked at. It's you and how you interact with the machine, because it's a biomechanical thing. It's not the machine by itself looking a certain way. So you can have, somebody can hand you a very aggressively set up bike. If it doesn't fit you, it's useless. So yes, go by how it feels. So this is kind of like a follow-up to that video about fit being what it feels. So don't worry about it. It's not your age or the fact that you got herniated discs. Alan that rides with us has the same issue with degenerative discs in his back. And it was his bike that I used a long time ago to do the slamming stem video, where I had him ride for a while. After we put it in a position, I had him ride for weeks and weeks in hard rides to make sure he was happy before we cut the steerer. But what I want to qualify there is, if you're having a problem today and you think that, well, I'm working on it, or I'm seeing a chiropractor, or I'm doing something, it may get better, my recommendation would be, don't cut the steerer until you're sure 100% that position will not change, especially if you think you might need to come up, like you put the spacers under there. And we talked about it, Jose, that said, you got to try it first before you do that. Because when it's too low, you have the steerer sticking up top and you got all those spacers on top. And it was good that we didn't do that. So you brought it up and put it underneath. Until you're 100% sure, don't try to get that clean look on the stem. And so what I want to wrap up saying by, I want to show you what matters is that once it is set up, you need to make sure that you document the measurement from the top of your saddle to where your bars are. If it's exactly equal to your saddle, then that's what your body likes. So if you buy another bike or you have another frame, set it up with the same distance. That's the reason why I made that video. I will put the link here for how to take the measurements once you're happy with your setup and you memorialize it and write it down. That's what the pro riders do. When they go from team to team, they just hand them a card. Here's my setup. Some of the bigger teams will still check those setups, because they have their fit coach just to verify. But a lot of the top riders already know what works for their body. They know that to the T. They know whether I can ride a 53, 52, 54, or whether I can ride any of these frames in this range. And they've already tried that. They know what height of the head tube will allow them to slam the stem. So just because you see it slam doesn't mean that the rider just slammed the stem. No, what they did was they had the builder or whoever's making the frame make the head tube either tall enough or short enough to where they did not need to use spacers. Spacers allow you to accommodate a bike that was not customized for you. That's all they do in the front. So if you already know how tall your head tube is supposed to be for that frame, when you order a custom bike, you just tell them to do that. That's what I did. If you look at all my bikes, they're slammed. They're slammed because I know I need a 17 head tube. Doesn't matter what kind of bike I ride. I need a 17 head tube because I need to be 8.5 centimeters below my saddle. That's where my stem sits. That's it. That's what works for me. That's what my body likes. Could I ride it at 10 centimeters, which is lower? I could, but it would be more uncomfortable. I would be using energy to stay there. At 8.5, I'm not using any energy. I'm relaxed. If you guys look at my videos when I'm on my hoods, my fingers just hang on the side. I mean, just relax. I have no weight on the bars. I just rest on there. So let's summarize by saying that focus on what feels good, just like Jose did. He moved it up. Now he can ride for hours, no problem. Because if you're copying something you saw somewhere or someone gave you an advice and it's not working, change it. Don't let them tell you you will ride into it or you will do it. That doesn't work. Change it. Set your bars for where your body wants you to be. Doesn't matter how flexible or inflexible you may think you are. That's insignificant. Set it to where your shoulders are relaxed, your hands are relaxed, so you can use all the energy for your legs. You should not be using energy to keep muscles tense. You get home, all of this stuff will hurt. Muscles don't like to be extended for too long. They're like rubber bands. When they go, they need to come back. The same thing with the legs. When you push, you got to pull. If all you were doing was pushing down, the quads would scream, holy hell, and your legs would burn every time you went up the steps. That's why I push a fit, because when you do a fit, you can generate power repeatedly and don't wear out one muscle group. Okay? So with that, I'm going to wrap it up by showing you how you just check. I'm just going to show you the process. I'm not going to really do the check because that video on bike measurement shows you that. So basically, once you're happy to know that position, put this ruler over your saddle. Make sure I have a level on here. Make sure the bubble is a level, and measure the distance from the bottom of this to your bars. That's it. That's how I got my 8.5 centimeters. That's all you need to do. With that, I'm going to just say it's more important how things feel, like Jose just confirmed, versus how they look. The look can be dealt with by getting a different style of frame if you wanted to look differently. But the bottom line is, if your body says it needs your stem to be at the height of your saddle, there's nothing wrong with that. You set it where it matters. What matters is that you can sit on that bike all day long if you needed to with no pain. And you wouldn't need chamois cream. You won't have elbow pain, all that other stuff. If you're having a pain, it's the body's way of telling you something's off. Do not ignore it. With that, get your miles in and listen to your body.